In this section, we're going to talk about finance and the affordability of buying and living debt-free in France. For a lot of you guys watching, this is actually going to be super attractive to think, how much is it going to cost to buy a house and no longer have a mortgage? Can you do it? How do you achieve it? And of course, well, what it actually costs to get our help. We're going to find out in a few seconds. We're sitting down with Juliette Harancot, our senior account manager here at French Connections HCB. Juliet, we're now going to talk about finance and practical tips of setting yourself up in France. So we've had loads of questions come in. Don't think we can cover them all because they're potentially just on those topics alone. They're quite personal and depend so much on the area. But a lot of people are asking, okay, so what's the cost of health insurance specifically for the visa application policy? Now, bearing in mind that I know that this depends on the age of the applicant, but could we give people a price range?
So approximately it's 700 to maybe 2,000 for a year.
For a year, maybe more than that for premium though.
Yeah, exactly.
So like 3,500, 4,000. People get quotes for like 7,000 or 8,000 euros. You probably really need to look into this because there are lots of new companies coming out as well, offering policies that are compliant.
Exactly, because they need to reply to the requirements for the visa application from the French authorities.
Yeah, which is a repatriation clause mainly, 30,000 euros. That's what they want to see.
Yeah.
And so now there's new actors on the marketplace. More than ever, you need to check this out. We're also noticing that insurance brokers are now becoming relocation experts. There's a reason behind that. It's because the insurance policies are becoming more and more competitive. So check that out. Obviously, we work with a lot of providers, and we make sure that we're always on the ball with that as well.
Yep.
Another question that comes along, and we've had a very successful video on our YouTube channel, which is a lady that bought a house for 23,000 euros.
Yes.
If you haven't checked it out, check it out because it's a lovely story. But there is, a reality behind that actually those very, very cheap properties still do exist, but probably, let's limit people's expectations here, values of something that's just completely livable for 100 to 150,000 euros are usually more apartments, right?
Yeah, definitely. A house at this price,
there's going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, needs renovation, or it's going to be a townhouse without a garden, which is quite equivalent to flat finally. So,
but there are loads of renovation projects which then become obviously very attractive potentially from initial pricing, but just obviously check that out. Another thing that we've been brought up an awful lot here in questions is the minimum budget to buy outright, or can you live debt free on 360,000 euros in France? Well, the answer is yes, definitely. Yes. Definitely. It depends which areas you're looking at, of course.
Yeah, of course, if you live in Paris, it's not going to be the same lifestyle as the countryside, that's for sure. The expenses are different, maybe more. More
sure.
about the car in the countryside, but yeah.
We've touched upon that with Jad in another part of the series, like the cost of living in Paris, but the cost in the countryside, of course, especially for house purchase, where with 360,000 euros, you're going to live a nice life, especially if you've then got social coming in. Another question, I guess, is actually relevant to taxes, and we answer a lot of these questions with Jero, our chartered accountant, and we're very happy to book calls and discuss these things because they are very much tailored. But it falls into this idea of remote working, and is money earned abroad taxable in France? Most of the English-speaking countries have dual taxation treaties with France. So there's a credit on that money earned abroad that is written, and mostly you wouldn't be double taxed. And the great news for people retiring is there's no double taxation on drawdowns on 401ks if you're from the US, or on social income. So very attractive to move to France from that perspective if you're retiring.
Yes.
If you're still working, there are things to obviously
It's
consider.
different, yes. But
So just generally speaking, last question, or a few questions I have here that have been sent in through our YouTube. And again, thank you all for sending these in. Financial docs for visas. We've already touched on this on the visa section, but do you mind reminding us that it can be bank statements?
for visa, in any case, we need to have the bank statement. It's an obligation. It's on the official list from the authorities. After, if you receive any income, we need to justify them. So if you receive a pension, we will need to have the attestation confirm the amount of your pension. If you receive any salary, we will need to have pay slips, contracts. If you ask for a visitor visa, we will need a confirmation from the company which allowed you to work remotely from France for this company. Confirmation there is no impact on the French market. And after any income you could receive, you need to prove it.
Okay, so that's great. And then the last thing is opening a bank account before you move. I mean,
it's possible.
It's possible, but we often will use something like Wise. A quick word about money transfer. Now, we're talking about buying houses, how your cost of living is going to work in France, setting up bank accounts. One alternative that we really recommend to all of our clients, and we use it for our own business, is Wise. Wise is essentially a technology solution provider to exchange currency. But not just that. It also allows you to hold currencies. It allows you to have a debit card that works all over the world and pretty much allows you to set up all of the direct debits that you'll need when you're moving to France. So it's a great alternative to opening a French bank account, and it's a lot easier. If you go in the description link below, you'll find your link, which will give you some real advantages with our special relationship that French Connections has with Wise. So don't miss the opportunity to open up your free account. Go in the description box today.
So there are different options. BNP, it's possible. The advantage is it's a French bank account, but we have some conditions. So as you are not yet a resident, you need to do a deposit of 15K per person. It's blocked during 2 months. And after it's available, you can use it when you are in France. And after you can obtain a French card, French IBAN.
They'll even send it to the US.
Yes, absolutely. But in some situation, in some case, some people, they do not want to block 15K.
But also, like if you bank with Bank of America, it's pretty impossible to open with BNP because there's a document the Bank of America won't send out.
Yeah, they ask to have reference bank letter from the previous bank, which is complicated in some case because they really want to have a type of letter.
So some banks in the US just won't deliver this document essentially. So that's why we work with Wise, which is like in between a bank and an FX trader.
Yeah. And the advantage with Wise, you can open the account in maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Without a big deposit. You can transfer your money from the dollars or the livre sterling to the euros, and it works perfectly.
Yeah, you can pay with your notaire fees. You can do everything.
And you can use it straight when you arrive in France.
So it works for everything except from the French health card registration system.
Yeah, but
that's the only reason you'd actually need.
Exactly. And that's why generally we help clients to open
a French bank account.
French bank account when they are in France, when we found the address.
And we still use checks in France, right? So you can.
So sometimes, especially for pets, so when you register your pet, they ask you to pay maybe 12 euros by check. It's crazy, but and I had to negotiate to obtain an IBAN, but I advise to use the check. It's quicker, and you can go to your bank if you do not have some check. You can go to your French bank and they give you a check directly.
Cool. I think in general, what we kind of talk about here is that we do this an awful lot. So we've got a lot of solutions, a lot of workarounds. Yeah. People wanting to do it by themselves, they can of course do it, and you can have access to all of this information that we shared today. But yeah, I mean, the first thing is to kind of put a reality on figures. France is affordable and much more affordable than you might think, and I think it sits so well in between the Latin countries and the English-speaking world, right? Yeah. Because it's got all of the kind of benefits of the Latin world and the
absolutely.
But the structure and infrastructure,
the weather also of the Latin world.
The weather in some parts. I mean, it's kind of the north is
it's
and some people
north.
don't. I think that's a reality for most people that are moving from maybe Australia or from America, not necessarily looking for this great weather. They might actually be looking for cold and rain.
Absolutely. But France is quite rich, and it's not super big country, but so different places.
Yeah, there's a lot of different architecture, and there's a spot for
atmosphere
everyone.
also. Strasbourg is completely different to Bayonne, for example. It's two different area, two different atmosphere, two different worlds, definitely. So I advise to visit France.
Thank you, Juliet. If you found this episode useful and you've liked the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling really generous, go and share it with somebody that you think would like to watch this. Also, as usual, if you want to book a call with us, you can go in the description links below and you can schedule a call at your convenience to talk about your relocation. We look forward to making this move to France easy for you.